When I pulled the front door open, I stopped cold. There she was, my wife, Ayasha, standing out in the driveway in tight jeans she had not touched in months, wearing a smug little grin that sure did not belong to a married woman. But that was not what twisted my guts into a knot. No, it was the man standing right behind her, leaning back against a shiny black Escalade like he owned the whole damn street. Tall, tan, hairstyled too perfect to be real. His arm was wrapped around two boys, both old enough to understand what was happening. And just behind them, there stood my son, Dakota, holding onto the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping him upright. His brown eyes, so much like mine, were wide and confused. Ayasha did not even give me a second to speak. She flipped her long, dyed blonde hair over her shoulder and said, "Waya, this is Maiko and his boys. They will be staying here a while. It is time we stop pretending." I laughed, but not the kind that feels good. It came sharp and hollow from deep inside. Pretending what, exactly? She strutted right past me without a blink. Maiko followed, dragging his kids along, lugging suitcases like they already owned the place. "You and I," Ayasha said, dropping her purse onto the couch, "have been over for a long time. You were just too blind to see it." Dakota stood beside me, his small hand trembling as he gripped my arm. "Dad, who is that man?" he whispered. Ayasha turned back, a nasty smirk on her face. "That man is the one keeping me warm now." That was not just a slap to the face. That sentence set off a bomb inside me. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. The night she came home late, the sudden workout obsession, the new underwear with the price tag still on it, and not a bit of it meant for me. The way she stared at her phone and smiled like it was telling her dirty jokes only she was allowed to hear. I was a fool. I thought we were just struggling. I thought if I stayed strong, kept being the rock, kept providing, she would find her way back to me. Turns out, she was already gone. Gone to another man's arms while I was in the next room fixing broken sinks and paying the bills. "And Maiko's boys are good boys," she said with that same fake grin. "Maybe they will help Dakota toughen up a bit." That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped clean in half. Before I could open my mouth, Dakota stepped forward. My 12-year-old boy, braver than I ever was at his age. He pointed straight at Ayasha, his voice strong enough to carry down the whole street. "You are not my mother anymore," he shouted. Ayasha flinched, the first crack I had seen in her since she pulled up in that SUV. Dakota pressed on, voice shaking but fierce. "I saw your messages. You told him you wanted to get rid of me because I remind you of Dad. You called me a burden." Maiko shuffled his feet like he wanted to be anywhere else. Ayasha's face turned white, then red, then twisted into something ugly. "You little brat," she hissed. "He had every right," I said, stepping up beside Dakota. "While you were playing house with some cheap replacement, he was watching everything crumble and wondering why his mom stopped loving him." Ayasha looked at me like I was nothing but dirt under her boots. "Oh, do not be dramatic. You were boring, Waya. Predictable. I needed a man who made me feel something again." I stared straight at Maiko. "You mean this clown?" Finally, Maiko opened his mouth, voice smooth like he had practiced it in front of a mirror. "Look, man, it is nothing personal. Ayasha deserves to be happy." I almost laughed again, but my fists were too tight to let it out. "I hope she makes you real happy," I said, voice cold as ice. "Because one day, she will do to you exactly what she did to me. And when that happens, I will be laughing." Ayasha rolled her eyes and headed to the kitchen. "Whatever. You will be hearing from my lawyer." But she was wrong. She was not done. And neither was I. Because I still had one more card to play. I turned down the hall to my bedroom and pulled open the top drawer of the nightstand. Buried under birthday cards and old cords was the manila envelope I had been filling for 3 months. I had hoped I would never need it. Inside was everything. Screenshots. Bank statements. A hotel bill from the time I was up in Michigan visiting my mother, when Ayasha claimed she was too sick to come. Turns out she was spending the weekend at the Hilton, wrapped up in Maiko's arms. Even Instagram messages. Maiko bragging to one of Ayasha's old friends about stealing her from her boring husband. I had it all. I walked back into the living room. Maiko was sprawled on my couch, flipping through my channels like he paid the mortgage. His kids were raiding Dakota's snack drawer. Dakota sat at the edge of the stairs, silent but burning inside. Ayasha spotted the folder in my hands and smirked. "What is that? You printing memes now?" she sneered. "Something like that," I said. She yanked it from my hands and opened it. And just like that, the smirk dropped clean off her face. "You were spying on me," she yelled. "No," I said. "I was collecting evidence." Big difference. And now I have enough to make sure you leave with nothing but this sad little Romeo and his 2 snack bandits." She threw the papers down. Maiko stood up, trying to sound calm. "Look, maybe we should take this somewhere private." "No," I cut him off. "You came into my house. You made it public. Now let us keep it public." Ayasha's face twisted again. "You have no idea what I have been through. You were never there for me. I was dead inside. You just kept fixing the gutters and patching the drywall like a good little handyman while I was drowning. You were not dying," I said. "You were wandering. Big difference." Maiko reached out, trying to put a hand on my shoulder. "You need to chill, bro," he said. That word, bro. Something snapped in me harder than a dry branch. I slapped his hand away and stepped right up to him. "Say that again. See how calm I stay." He backed off quick. Ayasha, desperate now, grabbed for the only weapon she had left. "You think a judge will side with you after this little show?" "I am not threatening anybody," I said, calm as stone. "I am finished. That is different." And right there, when everything was falling apart, Takoda's voice cut through the noise. "Can I stay with you, Dad?" he asked, voice small but strong. Ayasha spun on him. "What? No. You are not picking sides." Takoda stood tall. "I already did." The moment Ayasha dragged them through my front door like we were nothing, everything changed. Maiko's boys, sensing something was off, shuffled their feet awkwardly. One of them, a little guy, maybe 9 years old, tugged on his shirt and whispered something. Maiko leaned down, nodded quietly. Meanwhile, Ayasha crossed a line no apology or courtroom would ever fix. She grabbed Takoda's arm, her voice sharp. "You are just confused. I am your mother. You do not talk to me like that." I did not yell. I did not raise my voice. I just stepped forward and said in a tone I had never used with her before, "Take your hands off my son." She froze. For a second, she realized she had pushed too far. She let go. Maiko sighed like he finally understood what he had walked into. "Maybe we should go," he said, voice low. "Maybe you should have thought about that before dragging your circus into another man's house." I snapped back. Ayasha grabbed her bag in a rush. "This is not over," she hissed. "I know," I said. "It is just getting started." They piled into the Escalade. As they pulled away, the younger boy gave Takoda a small wave. Takoda did not wave back. He just stood there, arms stiff at his sides, burning that moment into his memory like a scar he would never forget. I closed the door, turned the lock, then turned to my boy. "I am sorry," I said. "You never deserved this." Takoda threw his arms around me, clinging tight, like he knew I was the only one left standing. And that was when I realized I was not the one who lost everything. Ayasha was, and she did not even know it yet. The next morning was quiet. Not peaceful, just heavy. The kind of quiet that squeezes your chest until you forget what breathing used to feel like. Takoda stayed home from school. I did not force him to go. We just sat at the kitchen table, each with a mug of cocoa, not saying much. Just 2 men surviving the same shipwreck. Neither of us asked about Ayasha. Neither of us spoke her name. But her absence sat heavy between us. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A text. No name attached, just a number I did not know. "Your behavior last night was abusive. You are unstable. I have contacted a lawyer. I will be collecting my belongings with police present. Do not reach out to me again." I read it twice, then turned the screen toward Takoda. He blinked, then whispered, "She really called you abusive?" "Yeah," I said. "After everything she pulled." "Liar," he muttered. That word stuck in my chest. Simple. Honest. Ayasha lied like most people breathed. Easy, automatic, constant. But I was not going to sit by and let her twist the story. She could spin it however she wanted to Maiko. To the courts. To her girlfriends who believed whatever sad story she spun up next. But I had the truth. I had proof. I had Takoda. And that was more than enough. 2 days later, she showed up with the police. No heads up. No courtesy. Just a sharp knock at the door, like she still lived here. I opened it. There she stood, hiding behind a giant pair of sunglasses, fake frown in place, clutching a big tote bag like it held her dignity. One of the officers asked, "Are you Waya?" I nodded. "Ma'am would like to retrieve personal belongings. We will supervise to keep things peaceful." I looked Ayasha dead in the eye. "You need bodyguards now?" She smiled sweetly. "I am protecting myself." "You should have thought about that before climbing into another man's truck," I said. The officer stepped between us. "Let us keep this respectful, please." I backed up. Go on. Let her collect her thongs and broken promises. She walked in like she still owned the place, marched straight upstairs, not even glancing once at the family pictures that lined the hallway. That hurt more than anything else. I thought maybe she would have a flicker of regret. A memory. Anything. But she was already gone inside. While she stomped around upstairs, I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. One officer stood near the stairs, shifting uncomfortably. Then Ayasha's voice floated down, loud enough to hear. This place smells like failure. I do not know how I lived here this long. I gripped the water bottle tighter. Let the words sink in. Let them harden into resolve. She came down carrying 2 bags full of clothes, makeup, and tucked between it all my old watch. I pointed at it. That is mine. She rolled her eyes. You never wore it. I will now, I said flatly. The officer spoke up. Ma'am, if the item belongs to him, it stays. Ayasha snorted and tossed the watch onto the couch like it was trash. Then she turned, flashing a sharp little smile. Maiko is already planning to propose. Just thought you should know. Maybe it will help you move on. I smiled back, cold as ice. I already have. She blinked. That landed harder than she expected. And then, the universe added its final touch. Dakota came downstairs holding a picture frame. It was the 3 of us. His 5th birthday. Frosting on his nose, Ayasha kissing his cheek, me holding them both. He walked up and held the frame out to her. She looked confused. What is this? Dakota said, keep it. So you remember what you threw away. Then he turned his back and walked outside. The officer cleared his throat awkwardly. That is everything, ma'am. We are finished here. She said nothing. Just followed them out, still clutching that photo like it burned her hands. I stood in the doorway and watched them disappear down the road. For the first time in months, I did not feel broken. I felt clear. Sharp. Ready. She was the one hiding now. Not me. And the truth. It was about to come out. The next morning, I went straight to my lawyer's office. Dropped the whole file onto his desk. Bank statements. Messages. Photos. Timeline of everything she thought she got away with. He thumbed through the paperwork, eyebrows lifting higher with each page. You have got enough here to bury her, he said. Good, I said. Let her dig her own grave. I did not call Ayasha. I let the divorce papers speak for me. Served right at Maiko's front door. While she was inside pretending she was building a new life. I wanted him to see it. I wanted him to know the truth about the woman he had shackled himself to. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring out. Checked the voicemail. It was Maiko. His voice was low. Unsure. Hey, man. I think we should talk. Call me back when you can. I did not call. Instead, I took Dakota fishing. We drove out to the quiet lake just outside town. No phones. No noise. Just the sound of the wind, the water lapping at the shore, and the peace that only comes after walking through hell and coming out the other side. Dakota said nothing for a while. Just tied on his lure, slow and steady. Then he looked up and asked, do you think she ever really loved us? I thought about it for a long second. I think she loved the idea of us, I said finally. When it was easy. He nodded like he already knew. I do not miss her. I did. Not Ayasha now. But the ghost of who she used to be. The girl who used to dance barefoot in the kitchen. The young woman who cried happy tears when we brought Dakota home. That woman died long before Maiko showed up. When we got back, there was a cheap bouquet sitting on the porch. Still wrapped in plastic. No note. No name. I tossed it in the trash without thinking twice. That night, my lawyer sent me a recording. The private investigator I hired found something. Dinner. Maiko and another woman. Same restaurant Ayasha used to love. Same smug look on his face. The waitress confirmed it. He had been showing up with this new woman for about a month. Overlapping timelines. Karma, it turns out, works faster than you expect. But I did not tell Ayasha. She would find out soon enough. I did not answer her yet. Instead, I sent Ayasha one text. Your perfect little story is falling apart. You might want to stay close to home this week. It took her about 10 minutes to fire back. What are you talking about? I never answered. Let her sit in it. 2 nights later, right around 11 o'clock at night, there was a knock at the door. Dakota was already asleep upstairs. I opened the door, and there she stood. No Maiko. No fancy outfit. No makeup. Just Ayasha in an oversized hoodie, leggings, and her hair twisted into a messy bun that screamed desperation, not charm. She tried to sound steady. Waya, can we talk? I stepped outside, pulled the door shut behind me. No. She flinched like the word slapped her. It is important, she said, voice cracking a little. What is it? Maiko already tossed you out. I asked. The twitch in her lip gave me the answer I needed. I hit the mark. I know you sent those papers, she said quickly. I got them. But maybe we rushed things. I laughed. Not the kind that feels good. The kind that feels like broken glass in your throat. You rushed. I stood there and watched. She took a shaky breath. He is not who I thought he was, she whispered. Big surprise there. I made mistakes, she said. Big ones. I see that now. You made choices, I corrected. Over and over again. Her voice dropped. I do not want Dakota to hate me. Then maybe you should not have dragged a stranger and his kids into our home like it was some cheap reality show. I did not know what else to do, she muttered. And that right there is the real problem, Ayasha. You never think past the next 5 minutes. She touched my arm, her fingers light, almost pleading. Maybe we could fix this. For Dakota. I stared at her. Hard. And then I stepped back. I already did, I said. The moment you walked out that door, things started getting fixed. I turned and went back inside, closing the door right in her face. She did not knock again. But I knew she was not finished. And neither was I. 3 days passed. No texts. No flowers left on the porch. No fake apologies. Just silence. Until Friday. I pulled into my driveway after work, and there she was. Her car already parked, angled like she was planning to stay a while. She stood there in the front yard, pacing like a caged animal. She was dressed to kill, tight black dress, high heels sinking into the grass, lipstick so red it almost bled in the evening sun. She looked like she was headed to a bar, not trying to patch up a family. Dakota was still at school. I had maybe 20 minutes before his bus dropped him off. I stepped out of my truck and walked toward the house. Ayasha lit up with a fake smile. Waya, you were looking good, she said. I ignored it, headed for the door. What do you want, Ayasha? She followed me up the steps like a dog dressed in expensive clothes. I talked to Maiko, she said, acting casual. We decided things are not working out. Too different. The boys did not get along. Real heartbreaking, I muttered, unlocking the front door. She slipped inside without asking, plopping herself on the couch like she still belonged there. I have been thinking, she said, smoothing down her dress. Maybe I made a mistake. You did, I said. A whole pile of them. I was not myself, she said, giving that wide-eyed innocent look that used to work on me after maxed out credit cards and smashed bumpers. I needed attention. I needed to feel seen. I leaned back against the wall, crossing my arms. So you lied, you cheated, you dragged another man and his kids into my house, and you called me abusive to cover your guilt? She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. And you filed first to make me look unstable. You told Dakota he reminded you too much of me, like that was some kind of curse. Her fake smile broke. I just want a second chance, she said, voice cracking. For Dakota. I stared at her for a long second, then told her the truth. I filed for full custody. You will get supervised visits until Dakota decides otherwise. She shot up from the couch, anger flashing in her face. You cannot do that. I already did, I said. You want to fight it? Bring your folder. I will bring mine. She narrowed her eyes into slits. You think this makes you the better parent? No, I said calmly. Staying when it was hard, showing up when you disappeared, loving him even when you did not, that makes me the better parent. You were cold, she hissed. You were distant. We stood there, breathing heavy, like two boxers too tired to swing but too stubborn to quit. And then I heard the bus brake screech. Dakota was home. I stepped onto the porch as he climbed off the bus, backpack hanging half open, hair tousled by the wind. When he saw her, he froze. Mom, he said, guarded. She smiled sweetly. Hey, baby. He did not smile back. Why are you here? He asked. I just came to talk to your dad, she said. Grown-up stuff. He looked at me. I gave a small nod. He walked up the steps, standing by my side. Are you staying? He asked her. I was hoping to, she said, voice hopeful. No, he said flatly. You should not. The mask slipped for just a second. Fear. Regret. A flash of what was left underneath all the pretending. Okay, she whispered. I will go. She walked back to her car, heels sinking with every step. Before she got in, she turned and called out, He will regret this. One day he will wonder why I left. Dakota answered without hesitation. No. I will remember why. Then he turned and went inside. I followed him. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like our house again. Not perfect, not whole, but honest. And I would take that over her kind of love any day. The next week was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that builds, like a storm you know is coming. On Wednesday night, I was setting down grilled cheese sandwiches and bowls of tomato soup, Dakota's favorite, when my phone rang. Unknown number again. Something told me to pick it up. Why, the voice asked. Yes. This is Officer Redhawk with the County Sheriff's Department. We received a complaint filed against you. Harassment. Possible endangerment of a minor. I stood there frozen. What? The complaint comes from Ms. Ayasha. Allegations of verbal threats, emotional abuse, and denying her access to the child. My jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. We are not pressing charges at this time, he continued, but we will need a formal statement, preferably with your lawyer present. I understand, I said, forcing the words out. I hung up and sat down hard. Dakota looked up from his bowl. What is wrong? I forced a smile. Nothing important. Just some paperwork. I did not tell him the truth yet. But inside, I was boiling. Ayasha could not just walk away. She had to paint me as the villain in her crumbling little fairy tale. I called my lawyer after dinner. He was not surprised. She is cornered, he said. Now she is trying to claw back control. Good thing you documented everything. That night I could not sleep. I stared at the ceiling, going over every lie. Every moment I ignored the signs because I wanted to believe she was better than this. But she was not. She was cruel. And now she was dangerous. Thursday came. Ayasha showed up at Dakota's school. She was not supposed to. The divorce paperwork said no contact without agreement. She waited for him in the parking lot, tried to talk him into coming home with her. He said no. She got angry. A teacher saw the whole thing. By the time I got there, the principal had already pulled Dakota into the office. Ayasha was gone. Security cameras caught everything. I filed the violation that afternoon. That night, Ayasha texted, "You are turning my son against me. You will regret this. He will too." I did not answer. I sent it straight to my lawyer. That weekend, I finally sat down with Dakota and told him the truth. Not the ugly details. Just enough. Your mother made choices, buddy. I cannot protect you from those choices anymore. But I can promise you will always be safe. He nodded. I know, Dad. I see it. And then he said something I will never forget. I used to wish she would come back. Now I hope she never does. I did not have an answer for that. But inside, I felt relief. He saw her now. Clearly. The letter came Sunday. Ayasha's official request. Joint custody. 50-50 split. It was laughable. But she did not want to be a mom. She wanted control. And she thought I would give it to her. She forgot one thing. I do not lose to liars anymore. Not even the ones I once loved. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "No, Ayasha. You did that to yourself. I just stopped covering up for you." She leaned in close, her voice dripping that fake sweetness that used to fool me. You are going to regret this. Dakota is still my son. I did not even blink. You had a son, and you lost him the minute you chose a stranger over him. She did not say anything back, just spun around and walked off, heels snapping against the concrete. And right there, in that moment, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Freedom. It did not fix everything. It did not erase the hurt or stitch up the broken places. But it was a start. It was the first real breath I had taken in months. That evening, I picked up Dakota from my sister's house. We rode home quiet for a while, windows down, letting the wind fill the silence. About halfway home, he asked, "Did we win?" I smiled at him. We did not lose, buddy. And for now, that was enough. The weeks that followed felt different. Not lighter, not easier. Just real. There were no more surprise visits, no more late-night texts filled with twisted apologies and hidden knives. No mascara-streaked standoffs in the driveway. She faded out of our days like a ghost that finally knew it was not welcome. And in that space where her chaos used to live, something new started to take root. Peace. Dakota started smiling more. He ate without pushing food around on his plate. He slept through the night without nightmares jerking him awake. The dark circles that had made him look older than his years began to fade. The boy who used to tense up every time the doorbell rang. He started humming again while brushing his teeth. That was the real victory. Not a piece of paper signed by a judge. Not winning a courtroom battle. This. Dakota healing. Us healing. Of course, Ayasha tried to pull us back into her storm. She called once. Then twice. Then 3 times. The voicemails went from pathetic to poisonous. I miss him, Waya. You do not have to be so heartless. Followed by, you turned him against me. You were disgusting. And then another swing back. Maybe we could talk. Maybe start over. I blocked her. Let her scream into the empty space where she belonged. One night, about 2 months after the final hearing, Dakota came into the living room carrying something heavy. It was the old photo album. The leather-bound one Ayasha made when he was born. I had not opened it in years. He sat beside me, flipping it open slowly. Do you think she looks at these? He asked. I sat there a moment, then said, I think she does. And I think every time she does, she knows exactly what she threw away. He nodded, his small hands brushing across the picture of me holding him in the hospital, my eyes red from crying, but smiling like the world had just opened up. Ayasha was there too, beaming like she had everything she ever wanted. Dakota whispered, she used to be good. I nodded. People change, I said. Sometimes they grow into something better. Sometimes they grow into someone you do not even recognize. He looked at me, serious. I am glad you did not change. I smiled and ruffled his hair. I did change, I said. I just did not break. That weekend, we went hiking. No phones. No distractions. Just boots crunching on the dirt path and the wind moving through the trees. Dakota talked about everything. College. Getting a truck one day. Maybe adopting a dog. We made plans. Big ones. And not once did her name come up. In that silence, I realized something. Closure does not always come with an apology. Sometimes closure is a slow Saturday morning. A quiet breakfast at a kitchen table that does not creak under tension. A kid who can finally dream without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Ayasha thought when she brought Maiko and his boys into our home, she would destroy me. That she would burn everything to the ground and leave me in the ashes. But all she did was clear the field. She gave me something she never meant to. Clarity. A clean slate. The chance to show my son what real love looks like. Not hollow promises. Not pretty lies. But loyalty. Consistency. Something solid you can build a life on. So if you were reading this, if you were sitting in the ruins like I once was, wondering how everything you built turned to dust, listen up. You are not broken. You are becoming. Let her leave. Let the lies rot where they belong. And when she comes crawling back, wearing regret like a cheap perfumed smile. Because by then, you will know the truth. She lost the best thing that ever happened to her. And you? You will finally be free.